Hi there! Welcome to the next stage of Cosplay with Idiots. We're going through, this series is based on going through the basics of the cosplay lifestyle and how you want to do things. So we want to talk about one of the very basic things, which is conventions. Now, a lot of people talk about how to survive conventions and how to pack for conventions. We want to talk about the other big thing, which is how to find them in the first place and how to learn what sort of convention it is.
So when I first started going to cons, it was not very mainstream at all. We did one con a year, and that was about it. Things have changed dramatically since then. Right, so there are different types of cons. So there are fan-run cons, commercial cons, there's fandom-specific cons, there's genre-specific cons. So I'm going to go through the differences between each. Right, fan-run conventions are cons run by fans for fans. They tend to be non-profit. UK examples are KidsCon, Amicon, Minami, that kind of thing. And they tend to be smaller, at most about 1,500 people. Often they're held in hotels or university sites and it's over a long weekend. Usually you buy a ticket for, say, from Friday through till Sunday evening. They often invite attendees to run panels and workshops on various subjects, from cosplay to the history of anime, trying Japanese snacks and anything in between. This is how we tend to do things. Because they're smaller, they often have a handful of topic appropriate guests, things like voice actors, from games and anime, artists and that kind of thing.
Commercial conventions are run by corporate companies who make a profit from ticket sales, photo shoot and autograph sales. Examples in the UK are MCM Expos and Film and Comic Cons. These can be some of the largest conventions in the UK, with over 120,000 tickets sold per event, and often you can opt to go for a single day or for a whole weekend. There are often less fan-run panels at these events, and instead the focus is done on big names for signings and talks, and they're great for meet and greet for cosplay, and they also tend to have a lot of merchandise on sale.
Genre specific, so these two conventions tend to have a theme or a genre, things like comics, gaming, TV and films, anime and manga. So you can have a fan run one or a commercial one that has a genre specific.
There are also, going even more specific, you have fandom specific. There are quite a few scattered actually around the place. They cover all kinds of shows, from Supernatural to Sherlock, Harry Potter, Lost Girl. In the UK there's a company called Star Fury and they specialise in these kind of events. These conventions are often really quite expensive, but they do tend to use that money to bring over actors that fans want to see.
Okay, so there was a time when there were perhaps one or two events a year, which is how I started off. These days there's at least one event every month. You can now find conventions across the UK, from big cities like Manchester to smaller towns like Exeter.
So, how can you find them? The internet. Fantastic resource. We'll provide some links in the description. You can also find conventions on social media. Like, events often have their own Facebook pages or Twitter accounts. You can also learn about conventions from fandom groups, like other cosplayers, or even from blogs on YouTube.
Now you know the basics, let's get to the fun part. What can you actually do at a convention? Well, everything. All sorts. Every convention will have a unique timetable full of events, and it's worth checking out the convention's previous timetables to see what kind of things they actually do. Some of these events include panels. As you may be aware, we know quite a lot about these. There can be fan-run panels about geeky topics, industry-run talks, or even workshops and demonstrations. Signings, and sometimes even photo opportunities with actors, voice actors, comic book artists, as well as authors and even big-name cosplayers.
Shopping. Often there will be a dealer's hall with big vendors and independents. Sometimes they'll also have an artist alley where artists display and sell their work. Some cons will also have a bring and buy where you can bring in items to sell.
Which is very good if you want to get rid of some of your geeky stuff and buy more. They also do meetups and photo shoots. These tend to be arranged prior to the convention over social media. There'll often be shout-outs to certain characters, certain fandoms to have meets and photo shoots.
Parties. Contrary to popular belief, we love a good party. Convention parties cover lots of themes and genres, from anime and J-pop to rock and pop and even rave parties.
Games! Conventions often have gaming rooms, some even have RPG rooms and convention games that you can sort of try out before you buy them.
And there's generally some stage content. These range from Q&A sessions with actors or other people, talent shows, masquerades and even burlesque shows and 18+ events.
So now you know where a convention is and what sort of event they run, how do you decide whether or not to try it? Time to do some research.
First things first, check online, see how it's being promoted. You can have a look through social media, Google, or cosplay and fandom groups to get feedback. You can also talk to some other cosplayers who've attended that particular convention before, or even similar conventions run by the same company. And you can watch vlogs of previous conventions to see what the con is like before you book.
Okay, so there's other considerations as well. So reputation, is it legit? Does it have good reviews? Are there reliable guests that are signed up to attend? Do you know anyone else who is going? Have you spoken to people who've been there before or seen vlogs? You just don't want that DashCon situation.
Location. With conventions happening all over the country, it can be quite exciting to plan a visit to another city, but it's a lot to think about before you book. How are you going to get there? Where will you stay? Do you need to travel far to get to the event? And if so, are there any reliable transport to get you there?
Budget. So you'll also need to think about whether you can actually afford to go to the event. How much will it cost? So you can think about the basics like tickets, hotel, travel and food. Do you need to save up? Will you have enough spending money for the con? What's the cost of your planned cosplay? And you've got to remember that real life obligations come first. If you can't afford to feed yourself or pay rent, then you should really reconsider going.
You also want to think about how long will it take you to get there? Do you need excess time of work in addition to the con, and how long are you going to stay?
Fun, because the biggest deciding factor is, does it look like something that you are going to enjoy? Do you have friends going, or a cosplay group? Remember that everyone has a different idea of what makes a good convention. For some it's the guests, for others it's the party, and just because one person doesn't enjoy an event doesn't mean that it's a bad con. So you need to weigh up whether or not spending all that time and money is going to be worth it for you.
So we're going to give you a brief pre-con checklist, and these are the basic things you need to know before you go to a con. So, event tickets. Do you have them? Can you afford them? Are they prepped?
Hotel. Again, you need to book it, you need to make sure that you can afford it.
Travel. How are you getting there? What sort of time is it going to take you?
And they often ask for things like ID, so you want a passport, a driving licence, some form of valid photo ID to make sure that you can get into the con.
And make sure you can get the time booked off, no matter what you're doing. If you're still a student or if you work full time, you want to make sure that if you can get it to, once you go to a convention, that you can stay there for the full time if that is your plan.
You do not want to be missing exams just because you've got a con that you've booked.
Yeah. So, moving a bit on, when you get there before you actually get to the con itself.
Ironing. Everyone hates it. Get it done and get it out of the way. If you do it now, you will not have to worry about it for the rest of the con. You can go and enjoy yourself.
Check your timetables. Have a look what events are happening and mark down at least a rough idea of things that you want to do or see.
Check social media updates. These will keep you up to date with the timetable changes, reminders for events, any particular groups that are happening.
And make a note of any meets or photo shoots that you want to do.
And finally, have fun.
So, this has been Cosplay with Idiots. If you've got any questions, stick them in the chat down below and we'll answer them to the best of our abilities. And this is roughly the guidelines that we follow when we go to events, so we hope they're helpful for you.
Alright, well, have fun. Bye!